What is up? Today I will be putting you on to one of my favorite albums of all time, Pieces of a Man by Gil Scott-Heron. And, first of all, why should you listen to me? Well, primarily because I have long hair, as you can see, and that is the only requirement to be a music YouTuber. Fantano, I don't care, you're bald, like, you don't count. You gotta have these luscious locks. But I will be putting them up again because I think it'll mess with the navy blue screen, I guess it should be called, because it's definitely not a green screen. That's also why I'm wearing my white Sublime shirt, so it still shows up behind this background. Now, that being said, real reason you should listen to me is because I run waxine.com, which is a music magazine, pretty cool stuff. But also, I'm just a music enjoyer. I've been listening to it for so long, and I love music with all my heart, or most of my heart, at least. So I love it with all my heart. That might be a medical condition. Now, that being said, I love music a lot, and this album is not just Pieces of a Man, but pieces of music, which is crazy, I know, right? But no, let's get right into it. This album came out September 1971. It is by Gil Scott-Heron, as I said previously, and it is generally soul, a bit of funk, bit of jazz even, but the star of the show is Gil Scott-Heron's vocals. And you may have already heard of this album if you're on, music discourse places because of The Revolution Will Not Be Televised, which is a song, in fact, the first song on the album, which is often cited as the first rap song, 1971, very early for rap music. And while it isn't quite rap like we would see in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, or even the 70s style of rap with the Sugar Hill Gang and that sort of style. It is more akin to a acid jazz song with spoken word over it. But the spoken word is still melodic in a way that you see in a lot of jazz songs, whereas a lot of the time, this early style of spoken word wasn't quite there. So that's why a lot of people cite it as the first jazz song ever. But apart from that, it is just incredible. And I mean, seriously, it is one of the most important protest songs of the era. It is incredibly insightful into that whole ethos at the time. And a lot of what we're still experiencing, I feel like it's extremely relevant in today's culture, and it has been since it came out in 1971, which is almost 50, actually more than 50 years ago. So that part of the story there is incredible. But the rest of the album is also just as good. I personally love Lady Day and John Coltrane, which is about, being uplifted by music, which again obviously hits close to home. But also it is a jazz song, funk song, a lot of different elements of all these different styles that the Black community in the '70s was just perfecting. And I feel like it really encompasses what it meant to be in these worlds, in these communities at the time. And apart from that, there is some absolutely incredible, insightful lines from this. One of my favorite is off of Save the Children. If we know so much about the problems, why can't we do something to solve them? While it seems simple, it's so impactful in this song. Now, if the titles Save the Children and the styles of soul and funk are feeling familiar, that's probably because the other most famous funk soul album that came out in 1971 is Marvin Gaye's What's Going On. Now, of course, that album I personally think is better, but it is very, very close to me. I genuinely think that both these albums are better than each other at certain things. Now, this album doesn't have the grandiose feeling of What's Going On by Marvin Gaye, but it has the same, in fact, I think it has even more cultural impact, and it has more tact and more feeling of the day, whereas Marvin Gaye, of course, touches on a lot of very important topics, but he does not go quite as in depth as Gil Scott-Heron does on this record. Personally, I think he just knocks it out of the park, hitting every cultural point that had to be hit, and he does it across the course of not just the one song, Revolution Revolution will not be televised, but across the course of the entire record, hitting on song after song, hitting on important points. And, well, a lot of times, like I said, Save the Children specifically sounds a lot like a Marvin Gaye song. Of course, you can draw parallels to Marvin Gaye's Save the Children. Now, of course, drawing all these comparisons to Marvin Gaye's What's Going On is going to make people feel like they've already heard it before. But I promise you, you haven't. This album is so much more genre pushing, boundary expanding than What's Going On. Well, of course, What's Going On, again, incredible record. I think I personally prefer it. Both of them are great in different sides. You know, they have a lot of similar elements, but they are not the same album at all. That being said, I think we should explore all sides of music, of course, and especially this era. This era, the 70s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s is my personal favorite era of music. Of course, I like the stylistic elements of the 90s. I like the, soul elements of the 60s and 70s. I like the psych rock of the 70s. I love just everything about all those eras. But this album is just the culmination of such a long strife, obviously a lot of civil rights movements embedded into it, and a continued strife that is continued to this day. And it is truly just incredible how relevant this album continues to be. Because while you're listening to it, you're like, yeah, this reminds me of this reminds me of this. That you can draw so many parallels between our modern day and this album that came out over 50 years ago. Now, that being said, there of course is some things in the album that date it. I mean, there are references, especially in Revolution Will Not Be Televised, that will make you think, I never heard of that. Or perhaps if you have heard of it, you're like, oh, that's an older reference. But of course, these are 60s and 70s references for modern issues. Now, there will be times where you might not know something, but look it up. I swear, you will be so much more fulfilled when you're listening to this album if you just discover all the different impacts, all the different things that he's talking about within that one song, but of course the entire album. You guys have to do your research to fully grasp this album. Now, even without that, it's an incredible album. I mean, just the sonically, the sonic sound, the sonic sounds, the sounds of this album, the whole sonic landscape that is painted with all the different horns, all the different vocals, just everything. It is incredible. But understanding each and every lyric, really diving deep into the cultural aspects of it, are what made this album just blow my mind. I mean, genuinely, I think that without doing that, you haven't fully heard the album. Now, of course, not everybody will do that, and I understand that, and it's still a great album, even if you don't do that. But if you want to bring it to the next level, if you want to really feel it, you have to do your research, which is awesome, because I personally love history. I'm a history buff, but even without being that, I think you'll find a lot of enjoyment in discovering all these different things you've never heard about before just from this one album. So, genuinely, incredible album. I think I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. And I would like to know what you think of the album after you hear it. Even just listen to a few songs, I suggest Lady Day and John Coltrane. Of course, if you've never heard it, Revolution Will Not Be Televised. And I enjoy Chains quite a lot as well. That's just a personal thing. That one isn't the most popular, most acclaimed, but I like that song a lot. But anyway, listen to the whole album. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments, and let me know if you want to see any more of this. I do plan on making more, so it's not really up to you. It's up to me. So, anyways, hope you enjoyed. I'd love to see you in the next one, and get listening. Also, read Wax, waxscene.com. You can check it out. I think it's pretty cool. And yeah.